Hello artists. Today for our new learning we're going to talk about the word form. In your journal on this page on the Elements of Art you'll see that form is right here. And there's the definition. We're going to write that down in a minute. I want you to know that form is about a three-dimensional work of art. So something that has the third dimensions. Here's a little box that my daughter made out of Legos. This is in 3 dimensions. Okay. Paper, we think of paper as being flat, right? But really paper even has the 3 dimensions. It has the length, the width, and the depth. Anything that we can pick up is going to have that depth. The form that is here is kind of like an illusion of a form. We drew shapes put together to look like a 3-dimensional objects, but we can't actually pick it up. Okay, I can't pick this up off the page. It is just flat ink on paper. And so what we're doing today is we're talking about forms. We're going to be drawing forms, so it's really the illusion of a form, and it's really shapes put together. So that might be a little bit confusing to you, but forms in real life are something that is 3-dimensional that you can pick up and touch. Maybe it's as small as an eraser, maybe it's as big as a car. All of those things in a house, an apple, those are all forms. So I've got my a new page. Just make sure you turn to another page in your journal that doesn't have anything on it. I'm going to use my HB pencil here. You could use a number 2 pencil as well. Doesn't matter. To draw, I'm going to lay out this page first, the structure of the page. So right about an inch down from the top, I made a little header area. So go ahead and draw that. And then down the middle, I'm just going to draw a line. Notice I'm not using rulers, just kind of going with it. These are sketches. They're not needing to be perfect. And then about halfway down, I'm going to draw a line horizontal. And so I have 4 boxes plus a header area. Okay, so I've zoomed into this header area here. I'm just going to use a pen so you can see me write a little bit clearer. You can use your pencil. We're going to put the definition of form up here. The 3D features of a work of art. Describing length, width, and depth. Another word for form, aka also known as volume. They can be geometric or organic, which is sometimes called free form. So that is our definition of form. Now we're going to talk about how to draw a form. We're going to start with a cube. And again, I'm just picking up my HB pencil here, and we're going to write the word cube. And what a cube is made up of is shapes, square shapes. So again, I'm not measuring, just right in the middle of this top left box, I am drawing cube. And if it's not perfect, that's okay. Wavy lines, just do your best job. Okay. Then this is considered a shape. And I have the length and the width of it. I need to add, so you got the length and the width, I need to add the depth. So in order to do this, I'm going to go from this point here, I'm just going to go towards this corner here, make a line that way. This is getting the depth part. And then I'm just going to parallel this line, just like railroad tracks are parallel, here and here. I am not going to do it here because you won't be able to see that line through the box. The box is going to be solid, or the cube. I'm going to parallel this line here with this one here. I'm going to parallel this line here with this one here. See, I made a mistake. Just go back in and draw a better line. That is our basic cube. And the next thing we need to set up is where is it in space. So we're going to make a horizon line about 2/3 of the way up. I'm going to go to the left and just follow that line behind the box and to the right. That is our basic cube kind of sitting on a surface. So we want to represent this in 3 dimensions, and the best way to do this is to add in some shadows and some highlights. So if I were to show you this in person, not in drawing, I'm going to show you it with an eraser. It's not a full cube, it's technically a rectangular prism, but it will work for our purposes today. So you can see right now, if I place the cube here, that I have a shadow on the right side and maybe a little bit down on the bottom. That is because my light source is from the left side and a little bit from the top. But if I move my light source around, you'll see that the shadow moves as well. So you can see I'm moving the light source. Now the light source is coming from this direction, and the shadows are directly opposite. Here, the light source is coming from the right side, and the shadows are on the left and the top. So the shadow is always going to be directly opposite the light source. So you've probably experienced this in your life, just being a human being on this planet for however old you are, for however long you've been here, and that's no surprise. So we are going to draw this now, this cube with a light source and some shadows. I'm going to put in my light source on the top left. We're going to put in a symbol of a sun to signify light. I'm just going to put light source. Please draw along with me for your notes in class. And I called this the horizon line here, so I'm just going to label it horizon line. Now, we know that the opposite the light source is going to be the shadow. So I'm going to use that as my guide. I'm going to put this face here. This plane is going to be the darkest side. And I'm just using my HB pencil and going in and shading it a dark value. That shadow we call the core shadow. I'm going to put a little arrow to it if you would do the same. That's the core shadow. The next thing is this side of the box is still in shadow, but it's not as much. and I don't have a name for it other than it's still in shadow. So I'm going to first lay down some lighter value here. Then I'm going to make a value scale from dark on this edge. It's going to lighten up as it goes towards the light source in a gradient fashion. And we just covered gradients in class, so this should be something that you're fairly familiar with. I'm going to make it darker towards this area. Okay. The next thing we have is, remember when the light source hits the cube, there is a shadow that's cast on the surface. So this is going to be directly opposite the light source, and it goes here. And it does fade out a little bit, so this again is another gradient. It can be darker towards the base of this cube and lighten up. You can even clean up the edges of that a little bit. So this shadow here is called the cast shadow. It is cast upon the surface by the cube, blocking the light source. Up here on the top, here, this is the highlight. It is the brightest part of the cube, and some artists choose to sometimes give a little tiny bit of value around the edges. Just to show the kind of contour of the form. But that is the highlight. It should be the lightest part of the form that we can see. The last thing that I like to do is put in some information in the background to kind of separate this foreground from the background. So what I like to do is put in kind of a cross-hatching of lines. You can see I'm just using the side of my pencil. I'm holding the pencil pretty far back. Definitely trying to avoid the cube here. Just putting in a little bit of value. And then I'll go back with a vertical line as well to create that cross-hatching. And then that really sets it apart from the background and pops it out. So that is how to draw a geometric cube to show the illusion of form. You should have this in your notebook, in your notes after today's class, and later on in the class we'll be filling in the other boxes. Okay? Thanks guys. Have a great afternoon.